Welcome to the Childcare Genius Podcast, the world's leading authority on childcare marketing, mindset, expansion, and profitability. Each episode will feature interviews with the brightest minds in the childcare industry to guide you into becoming a smarter business leader. Our hosts have opened 10 schools while raising 5 children. They are certified business coaches and are the top-selling childcare business book authors of all time. This episode is sponsored by Childcare Genius Marketing. Let Childcare Genius Marketing help you get fully enrolled and fully staffed. Visit childcaregenius.com for more details. Let's welcome to the Childcare Genius Podcast our hosts, Brian and Carol Duprey.
Hi, welcome to the Childcare Genius Podcast.
We're your hosts, Brian and Carol Duprey. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Today, we're starting a 4-part series on profitability killers. We're going to talk about finance for the next 4 weeks. And this week, we're going to take 3 different little nuggets and talk about them each and every week for the next 4 weeks. We have 12 profitability killers in your business that kind of suck the money out of your business and the finances and kill profitability. And since this episode is going to be sponsored by the Childcare Genius Financial Leverage Conference. So if you want to learn about finances and you're struggling in that area, you need to come with us to Mexico. People need a vacation, right? By September,
Right.
You know, winter's coming on then, summer's over. We're all heading to Mexico. We'll be there with 250 childcare owners only. And we're going to be talking about finances. We're going to take the inside and outside, everything to know about childcare finances, everything from profitability to wealth management and wealth planning and estate planning. We're going to handle it all. And I want you to come to that conference. And tickets are on sale right now at childcaregenius.com under the conference tab, Financial Leverage Conference. And I think people need to come. So it's $9.99 for 2 tickets, $5.99 for 1. So come as a couple, bring your spouse, significant other, business partner. Like again, it's owners only and tickets are on sale right now.
And even if your spouse or significant other isn't part of your childcare business, it's great for them to come to understand your business, understand more about it, understand the finances and the wealth planning.
Yeah, for sure, because it's 40% attended by men. So, you know, tell if you have a husband or spouse or male partner, tell them that they wouldn't feel excluded. Because there'll be a lot of other men there. And a lot of times the man handles the finance of this. I know that's not a traditional role, but it seems like the men tend to handle finances, women tend to handle staffing. At least that's the way in our relationship. And about 85%, 90% of the couples that we work with, that's the way it works. But it does work the other way around too. So it's not traditional to do it the other way around.
And
but it happens.
Also, a lot of times one person runs the entire childcare business and the other person, whether it be the husband or wife, has a separate job.
Totally separate.
But this helps them to understand your business.
And we have several men who do that role and their wives have separate jobs, which is perfectly fine as well. So we've got a wide cross section. But anyway, we're trying to say is bring that supportive spouse with you so they can learn a little bit with childcare finance. They can learn that you can make millions in this business. We've helped retire doctors. We've helped retire lawyers from their practices to do childcare full time in the business because it's definitely much more profitable than any other profession in the world. So we hope you'd come down to the Childcare Genius Financial Leverage Conference in Riviera Maya, Mexico, a Beer Star Resort. It's wonderful. All right, so we're going to get into the profitability killers 1, 2, and 3 this week. So what's our first profitability killer, number 1, Carol?
Failing to properly plan.
Planning is so important. You know, not having a plan for your business, it's like, what did I hear the expression, you know, if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. All right. So not having a plan or setting goals or financial goals for your business is disastrous. And one of the things you have to continually plan for is ebbs and flows. You know, your business enrollment might go up and it might go down. When is it going to go down? During a recession. All right. So, and these happen statistically over the last 100 years, they happen every 10 years. So knowing that that's going to come, you need to always have a proper plan for it. And, we could lose 20% of childcares nationwide during a strong recession. So if you're not properly planned for it, you could be out of business.
And not just recessions. I mean, look at what happened during COVID.
COVID, yeah, that was something nobody planned
Right.
for.
Nobody planned for it. And luckily, some people had, they had finances where they could weather the storm, and some people didn't.
Yeah, and different states had different levels of
Mhm.
help.
Yeah.
Some states were really good about, leaving their people alone. Our state was actually pretty decent, but other states were just onerous. The rules, regulations, and then making people shut down. And we never
Yeah.
closed a day. So, we were pretty blessed with that. But what kind of plan do you have? Have you ever planned for that kind of a situation? And, if you have enough resources behind you, you could plan a whole lot better.
Oh, yeah.
As much debt free as you are with a considerable financial reserves. Remember, when you're being chased and you and your friend are being, oh, I won't say friend, when you and someone else are being chased by a bear, you only have to outrun the other person.
Yeah.
You don't have to outrun the bear, right? What does that mean? In survival, in business during a recession, you only have to have enough money to outlast the competitor that is struggling as well. Because when they go out of business, guess what happens? You get their kids, you get their staff, and you get their stuff. And as cruel as that sounds, they're trying to do the same to you. That is business. They're trying to put you out of business every day. And you might not be actively trying to put somebody out of business, but during a recession, it's all hands survival. And the guy down the street, if it's a choice between you or them, I'm going to help you win. And how you do that is to just have a good reserves. So that's the biggest thing, is having a plan and having significant reserves. Saving money, paying down debt, is a good thing to do. What's profitability killer number 2, Carol?
Overpaying staff.
Yeah, that's a big one.
This happened a lot during COVID with people got all these grants and raised their staff wages, and now that the grants are gone, they're trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah, because their staff, some of them are overpaid. Now, granted, you're going to say, well, of course they deserve it. Yes, they do.
Yeah.
But a competitor who didn't overcharge overpay their staff, that person has a competitive advantage over you. What we have been recommending for years is to bonus your staff.
Right.
Bonus based on profitability. When the profitability is not there, the bonuses are not there. And by teaching that, when times get leaner, especially during recession, you're not stuck paying the higher wages because the bonuses aren't there. When people are just thankful to have jobs, you should never, as the recession has ended, the COVID recession, as wages are starting to drive down now, which wages are actually starting to settle. You can start people out at lower levels than you did before. And you need to do that. Whatever your market might have adjusted from pre-COVID levels. So you need to adjust your staff wages accordingly, and don't just keep rising in there. You want to get somebody in as cheap as you can until they show you how good they are, and then you pay them well. Like you don't want to overpay your underperformers on day one, then you're stuck overpaying them, right?
Right. And you also want your people that work harder to realize that you're paying them for how hard they're working, and not just that everybody at every level makes the same amount no matter how hard they work.
Yeah, and that's what happens in China. Everybody gets the same amount of pay no matter how they work. It's called communism and socialism, and it doesn't work. So with us, you want to be merit-based. You want people to be able to work harder to make more. And if you have to pay somebody $15 an hour just to get them in the door, and they're only worth 13, well, that's taking $2 an hour away from somebody who might deserve 19, but you have to pay them 17 because you got to pay the other person who doesn't deserve it more. So, it should be merit-based. I get that. There's only so much money to go around, but you need to reward your superstars. And don't overpay your underperformers. And you're going to have several underperformers. We all do. Just make sure they make the minimum. And you know what? If with enough training, some of those underperformers might rise to the level and then make more money.
Right.
Or they may work their way out and we'll go work for your competitor, which is perfectly fine too. I want all my underperformers working for my competitors. And many of them do.
Yes, they do.
There's nothing wrong with that. They deserve staffing too. All right, so what is the last profitability killer of the day?
Overstaffing.
Ooh, this one gets me good.
And a big thing that happens with this is when you are not in your business every day, which we don't want to be in our business every day, but your directors will overstaff because it makes their job easier.
Ooh, yeah. I've seen a few lazy directors in my day. None in the Chocolate Genius University.
No.
No. The other centers, other coaching groups, they have
Yeah.
those directors. We don't have those. But anyway, overstaffing is a six-figure profitability killer in a multi-center owner easily, most. Reason I say that is because when you're a multi-center owner, there's a lot of moving parts, and you tend to not see all the moving parts in your business. And directors, I'll give them credit here. They're too busy to be watching this. The beginning of the day and the end of the day is where the mistakes happen. And the first two and the last two are notoriously famous for overstaffing at most schools we have visited, and we have visited hundreds of schools.
Yeah.
It seems to be an ongoing problem because the director is dealing with parents at drop off, staffing coming in, and problems. That's the beginning of their day. Maybe they haven't had their coffee yet. Things get a little hectic, and they just don't have time to go walk around the center and see what the numbers are, right?
Right. And we visited centers when we go to visit, and there have been teachers with no kids.
No kid, just sitting in the classroom,
Yeah.
like waiting for their kids to come in.
Yeah.
Not cleaning, not doing something useful. And at the end of the day, same exact thing. I've seen 6 kids with 2 or 3 teachers sometimes as the unwind of the day, and they're never, ever gonna volunteer. Hey, I've got nothing to do. It just doesn't happen. They're like, oh, I've had a rough day. Thank goodness. I finally get a little break. I can go check my phone and see what social media is doing. That's what happens because the director's too busy to keep their eye on. So you, as an owner, really you got to have somebody else, a second set of eyes, being responsible for watching the numbers. Because it might be as simple as just rearranging people's schedules.
Right.
To get less people coming in and get people coming in at the right sweet spots. And we recommend a thing called 15-minute counts, where you evaluate your entire school in 15-minute counts of the first 2 and the last 2 of the day, and maybe even part of the middle, and see that you have optimum staffing, at 7, 7:15, 7:30, 7:45, 8, 8:15, all the way up till 9. And then at the end of the day, same thing, is to make sure you ramp them in and ramp them out. We were with a client in Illinois, Carol and I, a couple months ago, and she brings all her staff in at 7 o'clock in the morning. They all stay till 5:30. They're all on 10-hour days, and it's just massive overstaffing. And she's just happy to have proper staffing levels, but it's costing her probably 6 figures a year just in wasted payroll. And I will tell you this: the more free time your staff has, the more chance they're going to quit their job because they're bored. Do you know how slow a day goes by when you're overstaffed? It is like you can hear the clock ticking. The busier they are, I tell you, understaffed teachers have the quickest day. When you're tight with staffing, that day just flies by. Whenever overstaffing happens or you got extra too many teachers, those teachers that have just 2 kids with 1 teacher, they are bored. That day is a mile long, and they will quit on you eventually. Because you may think it's easier for them. Yeah, it's a little bit easier, but the day doesn't go by as fast. It's daunting for them. At least that's what I have found out. Can you see that happening?
I can. And also sometimes you are overstaffed and it's nothing, there's no way to prepare for it. Kids come in late or kids leave early. And that's when you need to have your teachers cleaning or doing their lesson plans or doing training or something like that while they're waiting for kids.
Yeah, it's something that if it is unintentional, you might have a couple kids out from being sick, so it's unintentional overstaffing. We have a to-do list of 50 to 100 things at any given time. The director has a list, and they know when somebody's overstaffed, it's the teacher's responsibility to come up and tell the director, or somebody's in charge that. And we monitor this on the camera, so we'll hold them accountable if they don't do it. But they go to the list and say, okay, the next thing on the list is to, take something and clean the mirrors in the bathroom, or to go outside and sweep the parking lot. Like there's an assignment to do when they're overstaffed. And that way, every day a little bit more gets done, because there's not one center in America that wasn't at least 15 minutes of overstaffing today. It happens, and it might be 15 minutes here, it might be 15 minutes there, but at the end of the day, that hour can be an hour's work. You don't have to pay somebody else to sweep the carpet or things. So it saves money in the long run because it was already getting done.
And we also have an early leave list where if a lot of kids are out sick or something like that, and you have an extra staff, if you have a list of somebody, what staff members want to go home, you can let somebody go for the day.
Yeah, multi-center owners have it easier here, especially if your centers are closer together like ours, where we could shift people between centers.
Yes.
So somebody might want to go home at one, might be overstaffed at one location, understaffed at another. You could just shift resources. Single center owners, it's a little bit harder, but you got to find a balance. If people want to go home and you're overstaffed, facilitate that,
Right.
Make it happen. And it shouldn't be democratic. It shouldn't be first on the list, first out. It should be first on the list that is optimum time, because you don't want to leave yourself short at the end of the day.
Right.
So it can't be democracy. It has to be a dictatorship. The director feels but if you sign your name on a list, you might might have to go home in 10 minutes from now. That's what we tell people. Don't put your name on a list if you're not ready to go home right now.
Yeah.
Because you can't say, oh, I'll be good to go after 3. Nope, your name's on the list. You can be ready to go at any time. And that has saved us 6 figures in payroll savings, and help people to get, a little bit of free time off earlier in their day. And they could use paid time off if they have it on the books. Not a problem to leaving early. So I think that helps. Sometimes I hear people, I've heard this stuff before talking on podcasts or things like that. And yeah, we're going to repeat some of our content. I'm going to tell you why. Because not everybody listens. And, I have been beating some of this stuff for years, and it's still not getting done by people like that. Sometimes it takes somebody hearing something 7 times before they act on it. And I'm telling you right now, if you've heard me say the overstaffing thing before, and you have not gone back and look at your 15-minute counts, then it's gone in one ear and out the other. So you need to actually go physically look. If you don't think you have overstaffing, prove me wrong. Pull 15-minute counts, check your staffing levels, and see if there are 7 kids with 2 or 3 teachers at the end of the day. I think some of you will be surprised. Send me an email too and let me know. Say, Brian, I had no idea. Thank you so much for teaching that. And just keep in mind that, the more you hear something, eventually you're going to take action. And sometimes we're going to repeat some of the same stuff. It's because I even have people I'm coaching, I'll talk about EPLI insurance, and I'll be like, what's EPLIs? I've been talking about it for 2 years. Like, how many times do I have to say something? I get it. You guys are indulged with, what's the word I'm looking for? You're given a lot of information. You've gone to a lot of conferences. You're getting a lot of data in there. I understand that. But what we're talking about now will really affect your bottom line. If you come to our Childcare Genius Financial Leverage Conference in Mexico in September, we will change your life for the positive, in a positive financial direction. I have $1 million guarantee that says it does. I guarantee your business financial increase. I give you $1 million worth of information. If you have not got at least $1 million information by day 3, at the end of day 3, come up to me and I'll give you your money back for the conference, no questions asked. That's a pretty good deal. $1 million guarantee. So what do you got to lose? Might make $1 million. We hope to see you in Mexico. Again, childcaregenius.com. Go to the financial, or go to the conference tab and select the leverage conference and go ahead and get your tickets today. And we will hope to see you there. So this concludes this episode of the Childcare Genius podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in.
And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss a future episode of the Childcare Genius podcast. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Childcare Genius podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please do us a favor and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a future episode. Don't forget to visit our website at childcaregenius.com to see a list of services we offer to help grow your childcare business. Until next time, thank you for being a part of the Childcare Genius community.